What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the other day I was scrolling through Reddit and I saw a post by an individual that I think is absolutely phenomenal. And this alone, of course, there's a lot of other factors to Battlefield 6 and why I've been enjoying the heck out of the overall game, but what I saw on Reddit, I think, is a massive contributor to why Battlefield 6 is getting so much love at this very current moment. But, ladies and gentlemen, before going and dive deep, I did see another post over on Reddit by Ghost KW showcasing a brand new mode that's going to be introduced into Battlefield 6, and it's basically payload. For anyone who doesn't know what payload is, basically, it's like Overwatch payload, where you're just basically, standing on an objective, and it slowly progresses to the endpoint. Marvel Rivals also has this. The Finals has this. Plenty of other games have dabbled in it, but Battlefield, it's kind of cool to actually see this being introduced, and it's going to be a tank escort, as, again, you could see with the overall post. I don't have the video footage showcased in the background because, as you guys already know, it's from the lab session, and I will get my channel struck if I show it to you all. So, as always, it will be down in the description of this video if you guys are looking for any of the links, again, posted down below. But it's looking pretty dang interesting. I think this game mode is going to be actually extremely fun when it comes to the overall Battlefield experience. And the coolest thing about it is that on the tank, which is going to be the payload that you're pushing along, there is this massive bulldozer shovel that is attached to it. Now, I don't know if this actually means something, but my question is, why wouldn't they just have a basic tank? Right? That's going to be the payload. Does this mean that the tank is going to be kind of treated like the payload within the finals, where it busts through objects and buildings and stuff of that sort? How awesome would it be to be playing payload on Battlefield 6, and this tank is just annihilating buildings, driving right through everything, cars getting exploded, walls tearing down? Oh my goodness. The possibilities are endless, but again, I want you guys to look at the leaked footage down below and let me know what you all think about the overall, gameplay that you saw, and if you think this game is going to be a good idea for Battlefield or if it's a bad idea. But with that being said, let's dive deeper into the actual, topic of today's video, and that is the atmosphere that they have to go ahead and showcase within the Battlefield 6 experience. I was scrolling along and I saw a post from ACAM, I believe is how they pronounce their name, 10XT or something like that said, one thing I really liked about Battlefield 6 is that every map has its own vibe and gives a different experience. In Battlefield 2042, all the maps felt pretty much the same. They went ahead and showcased this image of all the Battlefield 6 beta maps that we were able to go ahead and play, minus some of the other ones that are going to be introduced at launch, which will make this list look even better. But it's the truth. The atmosphere and vibe of each and every one of these maps is so distinct and so unique, in my personal opinion, that whenever I play each one of these maps, it feels like a completely different, brand new overall experience. Now, I will say I disagree with this individual when they say that in Battlefield 2042, all the maps felt pretty much the same. I think that they worded this incorrectly, but I understand where they're coming from. I don't think all the maps look the same. They all had different vibes, right? They all took place in different areas. They were unique. But they did feel the same when it came to gameplay. They were all open, mindless maps with no distinct cover, no distinct areas. Just everything felt like, again, a BR. But that's what Battlefield 2042 started off as, right? It started off as a BR that got scrapped. They went back to, the drawing board, said, okay, let's make it a normal Battlefield game with 128 players. And then their emergency mode for, because, again, they put these maps all together already. Their emergency modes, if they're not having a battle royale, was an extraction shooter. So they added in an extraction shooter. But overall, you could tell that the maps were made for a large scale combat and an overall massive one-sized map. And when the BR didn't pan out the way they wanted it to, pan out, and you play all these maps individually before they went ahead and revamped them, they were lifeless. They might be taking place in different locations all around the world, but at the end of the day, when you play them, they all played the exact same way. Yeah, the looks are going to be different here and there, but the play style, it's nothing different. You're just playing the same thing over and over and over again with different looking visuals. And that right there made for an extremely boring and repetitive experience. And sadly, it took over a year to revamp all of the maps and add a little bit more vibes. But, let's be honest, the revamps just added some additional cover, which was nice and all. But the core foundation of what the maps were it just wasn't it. But in Battlefield 6, every single map feels like a unique, brand new experience to me. I know one of the biggest complaints right now is that a lot of the beta maps were pretty dang small. And I do agree, we could have had some more all-out warfare maps. But even when it comes down to the small maps, the developers said they wanted to showcase that they can indeed put together small maps in a good way. And they have proved to me exactly that throughout the beta. Although they were all small pretty much, with, the exception of Peak, which was a little bit larger. They had all different flows, all different play styles. Every single map that I loaded up presented me with a completely different experience, a completely different vibe. And, forget about all the different maps. Let's just talk about one singular map. Even for one singular map, there were so many different ways of going about playing it, so many different ways of navigating, using vehicles, positioning, team play, that it never got stale. I played that beta on the same maps for ages, for hours and hours and hours on end, and every single time I loaded in, I felt like I was doing something fresh, new, and different. And as I've stated, this is huge for a Battlefield title. You have these long matches going on here, and usually, at launch, there's not too many Battlefield maps compared to other titles out there. I think we're getting, like 8 to 9 maps at the launch of Battlefield 6 here. But, a lot of playtime. If the maps are basic and boring, you're going to get bored very quickly. It's not going to last you that long. If I had that much consistent fun within the beta, I am just so pumped to see what the rest of the catalog is going to play like, and also moving into the future with, extra DLC. For those who don't know, the devs have already confirmed that every single DLC pack that's going to be coming out in the future and all the maps that are going to be introduced are going to be tremendously larger than the base maps that we have gotten within the beta. So what we got there was the smallest of the small, and we already got a bunch of leaked footage of the rest of the maps that are coming at launch, along with seeing, the future DLCs. I think the only map that we really didn't get to see is Manhattan Bridge. I think that's pretty much it, and I'm very curious how they're going to handle that side of the city format. I'm hoping it's something like, out of Hardline, for example, where they'll allow you to, like the downtown map, and it's like a big city that you can ride around, you have tons of vehicles. I'm hoping it's going to resemble that, because Empire State already obviously offers that infantry-only city action. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that every single map that I've seen has such a distinct vibe to it. They all just look phenomenal, and the flow looks even better. It makes me very excited for the future of this overall project, and I can't wait to sink my teeth in. But even on top of this, I saw another post here by PlaySwapM4G over on Reddit saying, a new leak from Battlefield Labs shows that mud and dirt buildup on weapons is returning in Battlefield 6. I know that this might sound like it's nothing, and, we've already had this in previous Battlefield games, so, why are we getting excited about it now? But after, the disaster of 2042, it was such a letdown. And yeah, 2042 had some effects. I think you could get a little bit of dirt on your gun, and when it was raining, sometimes there'll be some rain splatters on your weapon, but overall, it was so bare minimum. It looked awful. Compared to this, again, I'm not going to showcase it because it is a leaked image. Of course, as I stated in the beginning of this video, all the leaked stuff will be linked down in the description of this video, so you guys can see absolutely all of it. But it's looking good, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's looking like it's straight out of Battlefield 1. Honestly, I've been seeing a lot of people say this, and I agree. Battlefield 6 looks like a modern-day Battlefield 1. It just does, with like some gameplay flow of Battlefield 3. And I think that's why a lot of us are so addicted to it. It really did take the best of the best from a lot of these Battlefield games, and then scrapped the worst of the worst, and just, shoved out this product. And I think a lot of people are happy with that. But the point being made here, and the reason I wanted to show you the mud as well, is to just further showcase that the atmosphere of this game is top-notch. These developers are not playing around. Not only does it have phenomenal gameplay, but when it comes down to the maps, the atmosphere, the layouts, the replayability, it's all there, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely all there. And I hope that they continue on with some of these features, because I remember in one of my previous videos, I was showcasing how if you shoot the paint cans, it actually explodes with paint. And I said, how cool would it be if that paint actually got on your weapon if it exploded near you? That would be dope. And I hope that they further improve upon these features, because the mud wasn't present within, the Battlefield 6 beta. And you could say that we didn't have too many maps that would resemble that. But we still had Peak. Peak kind of resembled a more dirty environment. And there was absolutely no dirt on the guns. Nothing happened. So I'm assuming that this was a feature that was held back, that is being tested in the lab, and will be, there and present at the full build of the game. So since we didn't get to witness it, I'm hoping that it's not only mud that will be coming up on your weapon, but it'll also be some other features as well. And keep my fingers crossed, we'll see some dynamic weather introduced into Battlefield 6. So we can have those moments where it's, daylight out, everything's nice and sunny, and then it starts pouring rain, and, the mud gets thicker, and the dirt gets more crappy, and the rain specks are flying on your weapon. I hope that we see that as well. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, the whole purpose of this video was to showcase how unique every single map and experience is within Battlefield 6, and to kind of explain why I believe that this is massive for the longevity of Battlefield 6 because, things like this keeps people returning. Unlike Battlefield 2042, where every map was so, again, not lifeless because they definitely took place in different locations. They're all unique in their own way. But the layout of all the maps were so freaking horrible. You could tell they were not made for Conquest, nor were they made for Breakthrough. They were more than likely made for BR, and it showed tremendously. And it just made the replayability factor awful. Who knows? Maybe in a Battle Royale experience, the replayability of these maps might be pretty decent. But when you take them to a Conquest Breakthrough format, trash. Absolute garbage. And within Battlefield 6, I'm just so happy that they learned from this overall, experience they had. And they're also making their own separate BR map that won't interfere with the other maps within Conquest and Breakthrough. It's another crucial point. They shouldn't be combining modes. Every single mode should be unique in their own way. They should be developed from the ground up in their own way. And they should be completely separate when it comes to balancing, map layouts, all of the above. And it seems that is exactly how DICE is handling things. But, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post your daily at 8 morning Eastern Time. And we also double upload at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Everything between COD, Battlefield, Splitgate 2, Arc Raiders, Gears of War, pretty much any shooter that sparks my interest, I'll go ahead and discuss on this channel. And last but not least, if you guys are interested in any of my live streams, I stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, I'll link that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next one. Peace out.